Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Japan once again. This is another beer that Michiko brought over to Scotland for me on her trip over here. So for this one we are going to return for my second review at Ise Kadoya in Ise and me in Japan, and this one is a beer that I tried when I was over there the last time. This one is the Imperial Red Ale. It's actually not so strong though, it comes in at just 6%, but I know this is a pretty good beer, so I'm looking forward to doing a more kind of in-depth tasting of this one on the channel for you today. So I hope you guys enjoy the review. A shout out as well to my friend Koji at Liquor Shop Asahiya in Taishibashi, Maichi, Osaka. This is where Michiko picked up this beer, of course. He's got a great selection of things, so if you find yourself in Osaka, make sure you check out the shop. The link to the Facebook page for them is in the description below, and also a shout out to my friends Casey and Eric at Sotogami Akihabara, two nice American guys in Tokyo. They've got a great channel that talks specifically about Japanese beers, so make sure you check that out if that's what you're interested in. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Ise Kadoya before. No doubt I'll do more of these in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever you're interested in. Do check out the whiskey and sake reviews as well as the playlists of beers from different countries, and as always please let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review, especially those of you watching in Japan, because some of them can be really quite hard to come across actually. But anyway, to tell you a little bit about Ise Kadoya then. So Ise Kadoya are from Ise City in Mie Prefecture in the Kansai region of Japan, not too far from Osaka actually. But this city is dubbed the holy city of the Shinto religion. It's actually home to over 200 different Shinto shrines, but notably the one that you really have to go and see if you go there is the Ise Grand Shrine. So the city apparently gets about 5 million visitors per year, but it's actually a relatively small town of only about 130,000 people, which in the grand scheme of things is really quite small for Japan. So the brewery was founded in 1997 and it's owned by Narihiro Suzuki, who had previously studied microbiology at university, and he runs the company with his wife Chika, who actually does a lot of work in the company's restaurants. But the roots of the Suzuki family business go back to the year 1575 when his family started the Kadoya Cafe, which had the aim of selling the Kinakomochi tea to the Ise pilgrims. But the full company name is now Nikenji Yamochi Kadoya Honten, if I've got that correct. But apparently this is one of the longest running companies in Japan. There's some very, very old companies over there actually, and it's really interesting to read the history of these. But the brewmaster at the brewery is Masakazu Nakanishi, who actually joined the company in 1997 after working an office job, and he'd studied fermentation in his high school during his agriculture classes, and the brewery apparently were looking for a brewer when his work contract had finished, so it was really a perfect fit for him coming to join the company. But he later became brewmaster in 1999, and another instrumental man at the brewery is Yoshihiro Matsuoka, who is the restaurant manager and the label designer, and he's known as the walking beer dictionary simply because he has a ridiculous knowledge of beer and a big enthusiasm for it all over the world. So he's the guy you want to talk to if you find yourself over in Japan. No doubt he'll be able to point you in the direction of some really random beers. But the brewery actually import various hops and malts from across the world, and they use water from the local Miyagawa River, which is filtered through charcoal microfilters, and this is something that you can actually taste in these beers. But they're apparently very thorough in their quality control, and they've won many awards for their beers to date. And the brewery actually own two restaurants. This is the Biyagura, which is the on-site restaurant of the brewery, and they also have the Ise Kadoya Kaikumayaten, which you can check out as well. So yeah, really interesting brewery these guys. They're very highly rated as well actually, but they've got a core range of beers, and they also produce cider, soy sauce, tamari, miso paste, and also kinakamachi tea as well. So yeah, really quite interesting company this one, and of course that's one of the kind of quirky things you find with the Japanese beer market. There's companies who start off doing a lot of random things and then start brewing beer. The strangest one I've come across from Japan, of course, was Preston Ales, who were a furniture company that decided they wanted to brew beer, and you know, it works. A lot of these companies produce some really quite nice beers. So yeah, that's enough about Ise Kadoya just now. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork of this a bit more closely again. As you can see, really quite nice modern artwork on this one. There you can see the Ise Kadoya symbol here. It's almost like a kind of 8-point star on this one. I think it's meant to be a little bit like a temple. You can see it on the bottle cap here. Really nicely presented beer. This one tells you a little bit on the side about it here. But yeah, very nice looking beer. The website for this one is beagura.jp. And yeah, really nicely presented beer. This, I do have to admit, I like the kind of modern sort of computer art take that these guys have on the labels. But without further ado then, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting then. Yeah, nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out and into the glass. I remember I tried this beer with my friend Lee when I was in Osaka, one of the various craft beer places that he took me to, and I remember thinking this was a really quite nice beer. It says it's an Imperial red ale, but you know, it's 6%. It really isn't that Imperial. 6% is kind of normal for a sort of American red or something like that. But yeah, it looks a very nice beer. As you can see with this one, it's actually quite a... It's fair to say that this is a kind of copper, sort of ruby colour on this one. It looks really nice. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. The head, incidentally, is a one-fingered head. It's kind of... It's a sort of creamy beige colour, this one, and it is quite frothy rather than bumpy, but overall it looks really nice. But with this beer, just from passing the aroma around, you can smell a little bit of a kind of sweet fruity character and some nice toasted caramel. But we'll take a closer look at that in a minute. As you can see, if I put my fingers behind the glass on this one, it is quite opaque in colour. There's not much clarity to this beer actually, it is quite opaque. So yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma then. Oh yeah, that smells really nice. It does smell like a kind of typical American red, this one. I wonder if there's a bit of Cascade hop in there. You can pick that up, maybe a little bit of Citra as well. Didn't actually say on the website what hops they used in this beer. Just kind of described the flavours a little bit when I had a look at it. But yeah, it's quite a nice, this one. It actually just smells like a kind of typical IPA, but with a bit more caramel in it. But yeah, you've got, on the nose, it kind of does lean more towards the hoppy side of things. You've got a bit of grapefruit in there, which, as I say, I think it's it's Cascade hop coming out of this one. There's a bit of Citra character as well. You can pick up these kind of slightly lighter tropical fruit notes. Almost, not quite gooseberry, but not quite peaches. But a sort of dried, almost candied tropical fruit note coming out of this one. You can really pick that up. It reminds me a little bit of some of these Haribo tropical mixed sweets that you get. It really just smells quite candied. There's a bit of citrusy character in there as well. Maybe a little bit of orangey note, but it does smell quite nice, this beer. You can pick up a bit of pine resin. Quite minimal that though, there's just a little bit of pine resin underpinning the beer. It's quite floral, and you can get a good bit of earthiness in there as well. Do wonder, maybe there's a bit of mosaic in this one. That could be what's giving it these lighter, juicy tropical notes, because the mosaic, of course, does give you a little bit of an earthy character. And you can definitely pick up a bit of that in here, but there's some caramel in there, a bit of kind of toasted grainy biscuit as well. But overall it smells like a really quite nice beer. But just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck in. But we're going to try this now. So this one is the Imperial Red Ale from Ise Kadoya in Ise, Mie Prefecture, Japan. Kampai, once again, thank you to Michiko for bringing this beer to me. Cheers. Oh yeah, no, that's pretty nice. You need to let your mouth adjust to this one a little bit though. So as I always say, sugar the beer around your palate a little bit and just let your whole mouth adjust to this. But this is nice. It does, it's got a good bit of hoppy character in it, but it does have when you start to move into the aftertaste, it's quite interesting because the hoppy dryness just kind of builds up. The pine resins in this beer start to come out a little bit more in the aftertaste, definitely. I'll tell you something, this beer, I was saying that at 6% it's quite light for an Imperial Red Ale, but in terms of the taste of it, it does taste as if it could be a little bit heavier than that. This is nice, I do like this. I remember trying it on tap. I remember it on tap being a little bit more malty than it is in the bottle, of course, which can tend to happen. On tap you do get a little bit of a smoother mouthfeel and more of the sweetness from the malt base comes out. But again, it's both versions of this beer are really quite good. So yeah, in terms of the malt feel of this one, You can feel a little bit of a sort of pale malty, very slightly bready character. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, there's a good bit of graininess in there. It's quite a sweet, almost digestive, biscuity character that's coming out of this one. You can feel just a little bit of a toasty, grainy element to this one, but there's a good bit of caramel sweetness in there. It almost feels like it has a bit of a roasted graininess going on, this beer. That's good. I do like that. I'm finding that as my mouth kind of adjusts to it, I start to get more and more sweetness from the caramel actually. But like I was saying, the beer, the hops really start to push their way out in this beer as the flavour progresses. So like I was saying, in the back corners of the palate, I'm getting a little bit of earthiness, and then as you come further forward, it's more, there's a lot of pine resin coming out of this one. I do wonder, the resin character that's coming out of this one reminds me of the Chinook hop. I do wonder if there's some of that in here, because it really has that kind of distinctive flavour. Yeah, I think there's Chinook in there, but as you go round the front curve of the palate, it's a lot lighter and a lot grassy. There's just this dark, kind of floral, resiny character kind of underpinning the flavour of this beer. You can really feel that getting drier and drier as the flavour progresses. A bit of earthiness in the back corner of the palate, and then grassy as you go round the front curve of the tongue. Just behind the front curve of the palate there, that's where you get the little oily bubble that I always talk about, and that's where the fruitiness of this beer is coming out. There's quite a bit of grapefruit in this one. That really is what's underpinning the fruity character in this beer. Yeah, as you get used to it, you can feel a little bit of those lighter, more tropical fruits coming out, but there's a bit of citrus in there as well. But for me, it really is more of that kind of dark, grapefruity flavour that's coming out of this beer. It's really nice actually. It's really nice how this one blends together. In comparison to some of the other Japanese beers I've had, this one to me tastes a little bit, it tastes like it's more going for what the American West Coast beers are really like. I've found that a lot of IPAs and things in Japan, they do tend to go for to either being a little bit more sweet or a little bit more juicy. This one is quite strong on the hops, and that's what makes it quite interesting. And that's one thing you start to notice when you try beers from different countries. You start to pick up little things of how for example, the Japanese palate, like I say, they like their IPAs a bit more juicy and to have a little bit more of the malty sweetness. So that's what makes this beer stand out in terms of a Japanese beer. You start to notice these trends in beers from different countries when you've tried so many of them. You know, it's quite interesting when something's a little bit different. But with this beer, in terms of recommending this, I'd say if you like a nice pine resin beer, a big resinous beer with a bit of toasted grainy character, these are the things that it's really leaning towards. It's got a little bit of earthiness in there too, but that really is what this beer is all about. There's a good bit of grapefruit in here as well, but like I said, overall it's really nice. I do remember the tap version being a little bit more focused on the malt and a little bit more sweet. But as I say, as you move into the aftertaste, the toasted grains are lingering there. A little bit of the caramel sweetness, of course, but the big pine resiny and earthy hops are just sitting there. This is a really, really good beer, and I have to admit, I'm really glad that I got the chance to try it for you here on the channel. So if you enjoy pine resins, if you enjoy a little bit of earthiness in there as well and some toasted grains, this beer is going to hit the spot for you. If you like them a bit sweeter, the tap version probably is better for you though. In terms of the mouthfeel, I'd say this one is mid-bodied. Carbonation is quite smooth. It's actually quite a wet feel, this beer. You can see what they're talking about with the kind of charcoal microfilters and things. You can taste in this one, I can't really pinpoint it exactly, but you can taste in this that the water is just a little bit different. You can pick that up in this beer. And of course, the ions that are in the water, that are dissolved in the water, they'll affect how your tongue picks things up. You know, your taste buds are all to do with ions and transfer through cells and things like that. So that's quite an interesting point to pick up. But this beer has a little bit of sweetness to it, but really the malt base is a bit more kind of dry and sort of a little bit kind of toasty, roasty sort of thing. The hops are quite dry and bitter in this, and there's a little bit of fruity, juicy character, but really it's that roasted, malty character and then some and then some of the big resins in there as well. But overall, it's a really quite nice beer. If you get the chance to try it, I highly recommend that you do. This is one of the most hoppy and bitter beers that I've actually come across from Japan so far. So in that regard, it's one that you definitely want to check out. And it does break the mold a little bit in comparison to other Japanese beers, like I was saying, because it's not kind of as sweet in the malt base or as juicy in the hop profile as some of them can be. But yeah, as I was expecting, another really good beer from Ise Kadoya. So if you get the chance, make sure you try their Imperial Red Ale. A really nice beer, a bit lighter in the alcohol content, but you could mistake it for being a little bit more heavy. It does have almost a little bit of spicy character from the roastiness in the malt base there. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, I highly recommend that you do. Ise Kadoya, of course, are a really highly rated Japanese craft brewery, and they're quite easy to find around the Osaka region, so make sure you check them out. But anyway, thank you for watching my beer review of this one. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you do happen to have tried this beer, let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. It's always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, especially those of you in Japan. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you very soon. This one was the Imperial Red Ale from Ise Kadoya in Ise, Japan. Until the next time, kampai, and you will see more Japanese beer reviews coming up shortly. Cheers.